welcome.
Good. Thanks.
Zoom meeting. Could someone bring it in?
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time, Seneca. This is just an initiative. We probably will have 2 or 3 more guys join along the way. Combination of everybody struggling, as we've been talking about before you arrived. The difficulty in getting inventory right now, as you well know, is the challenge of the day. So really focused on that. Real quick, I'd like to go through and just introduce you to somebody. The most important part about this meeting for me is to try to foster relationships between everybody that's on the call. Seneca, because of your unique business model, I really think you can be an asset to our members and our group. One of the challenges we had, guys, is Seneca was on the site for a while and attempted to execute his first deal, and there was like miles apart with regard to how the actual transaction would take place, meaning Seneca has a methodology of how he wants to execute buying a car wholesale long distance, and our members are used to the good old boy, like, yeah, you can take my word for it, it's going to be fine. And they clash. Like, he couldn't pick the guy that was furthest on the other end of the spectrum, so it got a little weird. So I'm trying to introduce him to our group and have our group have him as an asset as well, to have someone in the electric car space. So Paul, let's just go through real quick. We have a small enough group here we can get away with this. Paul, tell Seneca a little bit about your store and yourself. Yep.
You're on mute.
Hang on, you're muted. Just a second, Paul. I didn't.
How's that? Is that better?
There you go.
So we're a Mercedes-Benz Audi Sprinter dealer in Northwest Ohio. Our family-run business, been in business for 65 years. So we also have a large used car lot and all makes and models used cars. So I've known Scott for years, and we been friends. So I've been having a good time coming into this and trying to keep our ear to the ground on used car stuff, what's going on. So nice to be here.
Yeah, you as well.
Gavin, go ahead.
Yeah, so we're a Porsche specialty dealer in Southwest Florida. We specialize mainly in just GT Porsches. So we've built a sort of a little niche business, but business is very good at the moment. And, all
Oh, you got muted.
Gavin?
muted. Now am
There
I
you go.
hearing?
Yeah.
Business has been good. Go from there.
Yeah, so business has been good, and we're surprisingly, even in the last 2 or 3 months, our specialty online parts, which we're the distributor for some products from elsewhere in the world, it's remained very strong. So it's been good, surprisingly good.
Nice to hear that.
Excellent. So here's a little bit of our outlier, Woody. Tell Seneca a little bit about what you do and what your background is.
How are you? Nice to meet you. So I actually, after spending 39 years running a bunch of dealerships and from Highline to, volume imports, I got out of retail and got into the merger acquisition of car dealerships. So right now I work with the Dave Canton Group, finding buyers and sellers and putting deals together. Been doing that for a couple of years now. But I do a little bit of dabbling in the fun part of the car business still, which is your old and classic stuff and rare stuff and some not so rare stuff. Just can never get it out of my blood, so it'll be in my blood forever.
Nice. I did an interview with somebody from the Dave Canton Group. I forgot. I have to look up the email to see what his name was.
You did that with Dave Canton.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right, and David's iPad. So I'm not exact. I presume that's Dave Benson. Is that possibly? Let's see. Whomever David's iPad is, you can jump in. And if not, I'll go to Kurt. I unmuted you, Kurt. Can you tell Seneca a little bit about you and your store? This is your big moment. Well, you can jump in later if you like. So I'm going to give the floor to Seneca now to tell y'all a little bit about his background and history with the automotive space and with Tesla and with what he's doing now, which is a pretty cool project I've been following and tracking along the way, having been somewhat of a Tesla fan myself. So go ahead, Seneca, tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. So Seneca Giese, coming up on almost 20 years in the auto space. Started selling tires at Discount Tire Company in 99, and then transitioned to auto sales in 2003 with the Continental Group in suburban Chicago. I was at a Nissan store, but got to know the whole family pretty well, the Weinberger family. And, I saw that Tesla was opening in Chicago in late 2009. And it was right around Cash for Clunkers. I was just being worked to the bone from like 9 to midnight. And I was like, this is it. I'm done with this. I'm over this. I made a phone call to the phone number of the Chicago location on the Tesla website where it said coming soon. And it was the regional manager, and he just answered hello. And I was like, is your showroom open? And he was like, oh no, but I have a Tesla if you want to come and test drive it. So I'm not a buyer. I'm curious, want to take a look at the car and the technology. And started getting interviewed on the spot while I was still in the showroom at the Nissan store. And went in the next day for an interview and got hired the following Monday. I was supposed to interview with Elon right after the regional sales manager, but Elon was too busy and told the regional manager to just hire me. And the rest is history, I guess. I spent 8.5 years at Tesla, growing through various ranks. Started off in sales in the Midwest, driving the Roadster in the back of a trailer all over to Minneapolis, Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, Indy, West Bloomfield, Michigan, right outside of Detroit. Super fun. Those are probably the funnest years of Tesla. At the time, people were like, who's Tesla? Who makes it? And now it's seemingly become a household name, obviously, for what they've done. In late 2014, I was regional manager, managing all the logistics and deliveries of Model S across the whole eastern half of the U.S., and saw more and more people needed to trade in their car to complete the transaction. And Tesla had an arrangement with AutoNation where consumers would go into an AutoNation store, get a value for their car, and then come back to Tesla and say, this is the value I received for my car. And me and a colleague saw that as almost a threat, because you're essentially, your customers going into another store. And sure enough, some customers were persuaded to cancel their Tesla order and just trade in right there in the spot and get another car. So we created a trade-in team and sent this email template out that sales team members were filling out for a customer trade-in, and started to get bids from all over the country. In a sense, we were kind of like, what we wanted to do is what ACV is today, but we didn't have the resources to build that internally at Tesla. So we started to take on trades directly at Tesla, and then eventually transitioning to just Tesla puts the number on the car and then runs them in the lanes after they take the car in on trade. And at the time of my departure in early 2018, that was probably a hugely profitable business within the company in and of itself in terms of the division. We also started the CPO program for Tesla, created the warranty product. So either 4 years from date of purchase and another 50,000 miles, or 2 years from the date of purchase if the car was already over 50,000 miles when you were buying it. And there was pressure to stop reconditioning the car and sell it in its condition that it was traded in as, and tell the people, the car is covered. If there's any major flaws or defects, we'll fix those, but basic wear and tear is not going to be reconditioned. And I didn't really agree with that. So that was one of the reasons I wanted to depart and kind of help start something new. And partnered with Trip Jacobs, also known as William Jacobs III. He and his family have 5 franchises in suburban Chicago: Jaguar, Land Rover, BMW Mini, and Volkswagen. And Current Automotive is formerly part of that group. And we have been running Current Automotive now for 2 years. We started selling some hybrids and plug-in hybrids early on, but we've really found that we're better off just sticking with pure electric cars, save for the occasional plug-in hybrid like a Clarity or a Volt. And in the first 12 months of operation, we sent cars to 32 states. And it's been going good. COVID hit, though. We were trying to stock up to about 100 cars right before COVID hit, and the shelter-in-place orders, and that kind of took some of the wind out of our sales. But it seems like a switch has been flipped in June, and things are off to the races now. We're selling the new acquisitions like within days of getting them. We still have some aged inventory that we're trying to launch, but as soon as we get some fresh inventory, it seems to fly out of here. I don't know if anybody's got the same experience, but yeah, that's my experience in a nutshell, and what Current's doing now. Current is really designed to educate people about electric car ownership, what it's like to own one, drive one, charge one, and economics associated with that at the same time.
So do you feel or sense that the operation of running and buying and selling is closely related to fossil fuel vehicle business model, or do you feel like it's a much more intensive and difficult process strictly dealing in electric vehicles?
It's very different for Tesla specifically, because Tesla does not have traditional model year changes. They change things on the fly, and if you don't create, or if you don't keep a running change of Tesla's modifications to the models over the years and packages and pricing like I have, it's very difficult to know what you're buying without photos of very specific screens inside the car. I've even had discussions with high-ranking Cox Automotive officials about this and what they need to do to improve the experience on both the consignor side and the buyer side, specifically for Tesla vehicles. And then traditional automotive, traditional OEMs, are much easier to buy because they're treating the electric car the same way they treat the gas version of the car. There's no big changes until very specific model years. They work with major companies like Chrome Data to organize and streamline the information. And here comes Tesla. We're going to do it our way. This way is the right way. That's what they think, and it creates sort of this havoc in the marketplace. And I see people paying over sticker for Standard Range Plus Model 3 all the time in the last few weeks, and you could buy a brand new one online for $38.9. It's just like a head scratcher to me.
Yeah, so for our members, if you had a specific directive to each member when they're assessing the equipment or how a Tesla is equipped, number one thing now I understand, as we've talked, is a picture of particular screens of the pulled up on the car. Can you articulate a little bit about how they could be prepared for either you or a question that people would have about that?
Let me know if you could still see me. I'm going to try to pull up a picture on my iPad here and see if I can share it. Can you still see me?
Give you control.
Tesla info.
That
share content. Only the host can share this meeting. Okay.
I'll make you host. Hang on.
All right, cool.
All right, go ahead.
Share content. Photos. Okay. Let's see. See if I can get to. Are you guys able to see?
The bottom of the. Yeah. Okay.
So I clicked the car icon in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen on this car, and then on the options of the window that pops up, it's the very last one. It's called software. And with this one shot of the car, you get to see model, battery size, which is long range, dual motor, which is all-wheel drive, odometer, VIN number, and if it has autopilot, safety features only, basic autopilot, enhanced autopilot, or full self-driving capability. So that's like 6 very important things to help you assess the value of a car in one photo.
That's excellent. You want to hand back, or you just go up to your,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, fine. And should be able to hand that back.
How do I do that?
First, you got to pull up the participants on the bottom where it says participants.
Got it.
And then go to my name or your
Make host. There you go. Gotcha.
Yeah, cool. So we've got, this is my 58-year-old memory, Adam Merlin, I think, or AJ. That's AJ. AJ in California. Can let me unmute you.
Hello, gentlemen. I'm here.
Tell Seneca a little bit about yourself.
I'm AJ. I'm a used car dealer over here in Los Angeles. Maintain a couple of collections. Still, well, haven't done too much wholesaling. Only one car since this pandemic out of the dealerships out here. But mainly sports cars, exotics, highline, and investment cars. That was really interesting, Seneca. Was that just to evaluate a car by putting in its VIN number?
Well, you know, I get calls or texts all the time from across the country, and you know, somebody will just send me the VIN and the miles for a model, you know, S, and I'm like, I need way more info, and I always ask for a photo of that screen because that's going to provide all the information I need to provide the right valuation on that car. Early Model 3s, for example, 2017 and early 2018 were only rear drive. You could tell that through the VIN. Specifically, there's a digit in the VIN, either A or B, and that's A is rear drive, B is all-wheel drive. So I could tell that, but you know, things like the odometer, the miles, and that's the same thing. Sorry, losing train of thought here. The software that's on the car, and you know, really good. Another tip of advice here is to go to the Tesla website. The configurator is on Tesla.com, and you could build the car. You know, what you could buy one for today. Tesla has made several price adjustments over the last few years on S and X. They just did their last one 2 weeks ago. They dropped Model 3 pricing by $2,000, and they dropped S and X pricing by $5,000. So Tesla's longest range Model S now can be had for $75,000 before any other options are added to it, and that car used to be, you know, $95,000 base price.
Yeah, I think that's probably the single best thing that I've ever had for advice for dealers. Like, before you ever put money in, the newer, the more important, always go to the site and build the same car to see what the current offering is, because it does change. They change options and values, and it's crazy.
Tesla's, you know, very similar to Apple. You know, I know we're comparing a car and a phone here, but if you can imagine, you know, just a 2-year-old iPhone, you know, at the time it was released was pretty, you know, tech forward and innovative, but you know, a phone from today, 2 years newer, you know, can do things that the older phone can't, and that's the same for some of the Teslas. You know, with regards to range, you know, the long range plus Model S can eke out close to 400 miles, but the 100D from 2018 can only do 330 miles, and they have the same size battery. They're both 100 kilowatts, but what Tesla did was they changed the motor in the front and updated the software of the long-range plus cars. And so they're really working on ways to make the car more efficient through small changes and not big mechanical investments.
And what's the status of Rivian? What's the possibility of them actually coming to market and delivering vehicles this year? Is that going to happen, or have you heard lately?
First deliveries will probably happen in early 2021 now, but that is definitely happening with the funding they have behind them. I'm not, if I was a betting man, I would not bet against Rivian.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I mean, they had, one of the shockers for me was Cox put in, I don't know, what, $400-500 million, I think.
Close. Yeah, it's right around there. And the interesting part, I've sort of befriended their director of strategy, who's local to Chicago. You know, they're working on ways to do similar to Tesla and sell direct, but they want to have a more mature sales process the moment the cars roll off the assembly line, which includes digital retailing, which I think, you know, Cox is going to help with, the disposition of gasoline trade-ins, obviously, which I think Manheim will help with. So I see some interesting strategies through that investment for them.
Cool. So there was another one that is Atlas fledgling, do you think? The truck producer?
You know, I heard of it, but I haven't followed it. You know, it's a really hard thing to start a car company these days. And, you know, you've seen what Tesla went through. I've lived it. There were days where we thought we weren't going to have a job the next day because we had to sell just one more car. And I've sort of risen to the occasion a couple times and just like dug through the Rolodex and it's like, who can I call? Who can I squeeze, you know, a sale out of? And it was kind of incredible to be part of those moments and, you know, feel like you've helped, you know, keep that company going. But yeah, Lucid, I've got some old Tesla colleagues that are at that company. And I thought they were going to also fold, but then they got a last minute investment from a Saudi fund. And, you know, looks like their factory is almost done. They're going to start rolling cars off the line here at the end of the year.
Right, and so do you see Current Automotive scaling into other markets?
Yeah, you know, what's great about how we started is we, you know, sort of looked 5 years out and said, how do we want to be? And let's start building that now. And that started with making the website fully transparent, easy to use, and also simple and very clean, not cluttered. One of my pet peeves when I go visit other websites with inventory on it, I can't even see the car in the first click. It's like you have to scroll down and you're bombarded with advertisements or pop-ups for free test drives. And you're really taking away from the experience and taking away from the product you're trying to sell, in my opinion. And I know a lot of it is about differentiation and trying to, you know, say, this is why you should purchase from this location. But I think for us, when somebody is looking for something specific, if you give them what they want right away up front, you start building trust. So they want information about the car, they want photos, no haggle price, one click of the button with Modal. That's our digital retailing plugin. They can see the total out the door and then choose delivery if they want. And the total taxes and registrations based on where they're browsing from. So that'll pick up on California taxes or Texas taxes or Florida. So it's pretty accurate within a few $100s.
And that's called Modal, that plugin?
Yeah, it used to be called Drive Motors, and they switched their name to Modal last year.
And what do you do with your gas trades?
We've been using the appraisal lane recently. So we just swapped them into our website. There's a link people click on.
Those guys and I go way back. They were
yeah.
big. You know the story behind, let's see,
I don't, and Jordan from the appraisal lane just sent me a text while you were saying that.
Yeah, I mean, the guy that started that, I can't think of his name right now, I will. He was hired by Toyota in Florida. He actually was a worker at an Orlando auto auction. Toyota hired him just to go buy Toyotas and move them World Omni, one sale to sell them all, and he just started buying. He was like the biggest buyer of Toyotas in the country. Really, really good guys. Those two guys are really, really good guys. So you use the appraisal lane, you get a number from them. Sometimes they take it. Do you always sell through them? No.
If a customer's here in person, we'll do the appraisal lane. We'll also put it on ACV. And occasionally, before COVID, we had a relationship with Carvana as well. Carvana was putting crazy numbers on some of our trades to help us get deals done. So because we don't resell gas cars, it's not really, we don't really care about keeping the gas car, and we just want to get the customer the best number possible to help us sell the electric car. Obviously, our company is mission driven. We want to get more electric cars on the road, educate more people about electric cars, and the value is just a means to an end for us. We want to get them the best value to get a sale.
And so do you ever get those trades that are eclectic, collectible, sports cars, things of that nature?
When I was at Tesla all the time, and I've had my share of fun with those cars in particular. One of them was a cream white 911 Turbo S with terracotta interior, and I bought that car myself. I had to have it for a little bit. But at Current, it's all been, our bread and butter is 10 to 20,000. And then we really skip the $20,000 to $40,000 price junction and goes 40,000 and up in terms of our sales. There's this really weird gap between 20 and 40 grand that we don't sell too much of. And I have not had any cool electric trades, although I would love to come across some sometime soon.
Interesting stuff, yeah. So any of the group have questions about their experience in the electric market when you've tried to or sold electric cars wholesale or retail, or when you're trying to put numbers on them? Is there anything that you'd like to ask Seneca that would foster a discussion and the ability to function here after this meeting to try to assist in making that happen? Wide open to anybody that has a comment or question. Raise your hand. I'll unmute you. Paul, go ahead.
Is there a time period where these batteries will have to be replaced, where the value of the car is worth nothing because they have to put a whole battery in the car?
That's a great question. And if you've ever heard of the website Electrek, it's spelled ELECTREC. I'll see if I could send you guys a link through this through the Zoom. Tesla has an 8-year unlimited battery warranty on S and X up to the beginning of 2020. After 2020, they switched their battery warranty on S and X to 8 years, 150,000 miles. The overwhelming majority of Tesla vehicles will see a small amount of degradation over time, but the vehicles will not just go completely kaput and become rendered unusable. I guess just for reference, a full charge on a Model S 100D battery will power an iPhone for something like 1,000 years. It's kind of crazy. Think about, okay, so 1,000 years I could power my phone off of one charge. But Tesla is just coming up to 8 years on the very first cars they delivered in June of 2012. And so nobody has really had to pay out of pocket yet for a battery replacement on a Tesla. So that the jury's still out on cost to replace any Tesla batteries. They cover degradation, like extreme degradation, I think up to 30%. Anything over 30%, it's going to fall into the realm of the battery warranty. And that battery warranty also covers the electric motor or motors if it's dual motor. For all the other OEMs, I see another question here. Is the warranty transferable? Yes, it is. All subsequent owners of the car, warranty transfers downstream. For traditional OEMs, say like on the Nissan Leaf, Kia Soul, Fiat 500Es, for example, also have an 8-year battery warranty. This is a federally mandated thing. because it's such new technology and expensive, the federal government didn't want people to be sort of out of pocket with a significant amount of money for their batteries. But that's a good question, Paul.
Thank you.
Then what's the single best way for our members or dealers to accommodate you in a conversion process where they don't want to keep an electric car? They want to trade for it, and they want you to be the number on it, and then you want to have a comfortable, smooth flow. What's the management of expectations between our members and you, and how you function to acquire and buy, put the number on, and expect to get a car?
I mean, the beauty of an electric car, is that there's one moving part in the electric motor, and the battery's under warranty for such a long time. So the things that I'm mostly concerned about are cosmetic condition, major repairs. Does it smell like an ashtray? All those things. As long as I have VIN, miles on traditional OEM cars, and then with Teslas, having photos of the software screen, which basically tells me everything I need to know of the car and the condition, it should be very easy to provide a buy figure and make an offer.
Go ahead, AJ.
Do you do hybrid vehicles as well, or is it just all electric vehicles?
Plug-in hybrid, yes. So Chevy Volt, Honda Clarity, plug-in hybrid, Ioniq plug-in hybrid, very few. Kia Niro, PHEV. That's but anything that has a plug. If it's a regular hybrid, we just stay away from those because there's not that much interest in hybrids anymore, in our opinion.
So, like, wondering, there was like the couple of SUVs that had the hybrids on them, and they seem to be holding their value really well, like a Cadillac Escalade hybrid, except getting batteries for them are extremely difficult. I forget, there was a couple of other hybrid SUVs.
XC90. Yeah.
Yeah. Are those worthwhile paying attention to, or is there a source that we could get batteries for them?
Good question. And if you're talking about the plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, those have generally lithium-ion batteries, which are still falling under that 8-year battery warranty for the manufacturer. Okay. And we've tested in our inventory the XC90s, the X5 plug-ins, and because of the price point and what you're getting in terms of the efficiency for that vehicle, I don't think they're really good sellers, in my opinion. Okay. Most people tend to just stick with the regular gas version of that vehicle instead.
Check engine light came on the 87th Street
and
was not on when I took it over there.
Yep, sorry about that.
That's right.
So I don't know if you purposefully dodged my question, but are you planning to scale into other marketplaces?
Oh, yeah. I mean, here, our hope is to have 3 large hubs, west, central, and east, and be able to deliver to somebody within a couple days. Okay. But also provide the ability for somebody to come in and actually visit the location and test drive multiple cars back to back. If you could think CarMax meets Carvana meets, Tesla in terms of physical space, volume of cars, online presence and marketing, and ease of purchasing and knowledge, combine all 3 of those, and that's what we want to be.
And then what's your single greatest source of inventory? What would be the most crippling if you lost access to inventory through what platform?
Google. I buy all of our Teslas off the street, and when we first started a year ago, I was hunting. I was going after classifieds and Tesla Motor Forum posts, and I turned it around. I said, I don't have time for this anymore. I built the form, and I pay Google search engine marketing monthly expense, and I bought all the keywords, sell my Tesla, sell my Model 3, sell my Model X, and we're usually the first or second result. People click on that, and they're driven to our website to fill out very specific form, asking very specific questions about their Tesla, and then I could do the appraisal real quick.
Awesome. That's I don't think that's the least bit competitive for all of us to have ears wide open. What a great model. I mean, if your specialty is Porsche Turbos, your specialty is Lotus or whatever it might be, or Mercedes-Benz, there's no reason why each of us couldn't do that and leverage that opportunity, whatever your passion is and your business is built around. That's a really great idea. Excellent. So the size and volume of your product, what's happened since you opened 2 years? Does that track maintain the trajectory that you were expecting or hoping for, Seneca?
You know, the shelter-in-place order for Illinois took the wind out of our sales. But June is very promising now. All of a sudden, the phone's ringing. People are requesting to come again. It's almost as if nothing had happened. So things are looking good for this month, and hopefully that brings us back to where we were headed at the beginning of March. I just need more cars. I think everybody does.
Yes, that seems to be the common thread. Inventory, the right kind of inventory, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any other questions for Seneca?
Seneca, what's been your feed on financing for those vehicles?
Yeah, since we're part of the Bill Jacobs Group, we have financing through all the major lenders: Bank of America, Wells Fargo, U.S. Bank, PNC, and that's been critical to our success. If we didn't have access to those lending sources, I don't think we would have been as successful as we are today, to be honest.
So is it's just traditional banks that you've been working with that are okay with you being as a certified something reseller of electric vehicles, or are they opening up to somebody, say like myself? If I took in a P100 and I went ahead and tried to get it financed, I think I did it once with a I don't remember the other part.
What you didn't catch, you weren't in early, is that Seneca, the roots of the company are founded in the Bill Jacobs Group in Chicago, which is a multi-franchise organization. So they've got a nice connection there because of that organization and relationship, correct?
That's right. And if we were trying to do this independently, outside of franchise, group, we would probably, be halfway to where we are now, trying to do financing through Ally or, some other, random finance organizations.
And then electric motorcycles, is that something that's in your horizon as well?
No, not thinking about that. Different mindset, really. I think, number one, to ride a motorcycle, you probably are an enthusiast, and enthusiast groups and buyers are much smaller than the broader base of consumers. And, I'm interested in one personally, just because I'm into stuff like that. But I think for us, the focus is on the electrification of, four-wheel vehicles and how that is going to transition in the marketplace over the next few years.
All right, so here's a speculation question opportunity for you. Multiple occasions, Elon has stated that his full self-driving fleet will one night, when they flip the switch, be worth 50 to 150,000 more per car because of their ability to function completely autonomously. What's your insight to that premise? Because that is a very, never before in the automotive industry has an acquisition of a new vehicle ever been subjected to the potential speculation that it could be worth 2 to 3 times more in 2 to 4 years.
Well, he's not wrong, but two things. I'm sure a lot of people have been doing some reflection, the last few months with the shelter in place and the pandemic. And, now there's speculation that millennials that once commuted to work on, trains or buses or subway no longer want to do that. And, now they want to buy a car for their 10-mile commute and have their own space to commute in. So that's one thing. And so I think that affects his prediction that, you know, they could essentially create an Uber competitor or a Lyft competitor overnight and put them out of business. That's certainly feasible. And hey, if, like, you know, there's a vaccine and nobody's at risk anymore to any of these, you know, diseases, then I think a resurgence in Uber, Lyft, you know, can come back, and that certainly becomes viable again. I personally enjoy my own car, my own space, and, you know, doing what I want to do with it. But, you know, there's a ton of people where, you know, transportation is just a means to an end. And they don't care what kind of car they have. They don't care how they get there. And so that's kind of how he's thinking. In any manufacturer that has autonomous technology can do the same thing. And I know GM is very much thinking along the same lines. If they have similar autonomous capabilities and they see sales falling off a cliff because nobody's buying cars for personal use anymore and they're relying more on public transit, in order to stay alive, they have to create a network. And that network is then populated with automobiles using their technology and their machines that they created, and people are then paying them for their rides and their services. There's a very interesting study that talks about this. You want to write it down? It's called Rethink X. It's about 80 pages. It goes into the implications of autonomous technology and how it affects automotive retail, automotive services, oil and gas, and real estate. Because you're not going to need as many parking lots anymore, because vehicles' traditional downtime is 90%, uptime 10%. If you flip that over, downtime 10, uptime 90, you don't need parking spaces anymore. You need hubs to service cars and keep them going.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely forward thinking. Woody's probably keenly interested in keeping track of it. Those extra commas that you deal with every day, Woody.
So long-term thinking for us too is, you know, if we're in a position where we intimately really know these vehicles and what the requirements are to service them and keep them going, you know, if retail sales start to dwindle, maybe we pivot also into supporting electric and autonomous vehicles and keep them going.
Yeah. Any parting thoughts? What we're going to do is let you cap off your segment, and then I got a few updates for the group about some auctions. You're welcome to stay on. You don't have to feel obliged to do so. It's absolutely a pleasure to have you, and we look forward to engaging you and making sure that our members have access to you. And we'll work out something with regard to the list to have you maybe have a better experience than the first go around. But share with us anything that you have as a parting thought, and if not, we will continue on.
No, thanks for having me. Lifelong automotive guy, enthusiast, and Gavin, I have to come by and visit your store one day. It'll be like a kid in a candy store for me. I was recently on Cars Yeah. I don't know if you guys listen to that podcast with Mark Green, and that was fun. So check that out. Kind of talk about my youth and sort of becoming an enthusiast. And I've got a YouTube video on a channel called Like Tesla. Kind of breaks down some of the highlights of Current Automotive as well and how we got started there. You can find us at currentautomotive.com. Check out our website. And if you guys have any electric cars you need numbers on, I'm all ears.
Awesome. That's excellent.
And what was the thing on the battery, the electric? There was some website.
It's electrek.co. That's the website. And they purchased a Model X with over 400,000 miles. And it was in a fleet called Tesloop that ran between LA and Las Vegas. This company had 3 or 4 Teslas that they put several 100,000 miles on those cars. There's been some battery replacements under warranty, but it breaks down the degradation. So I guess, Paul, to go back to your question from earlier, that'll be a good article to reference and look at and kind of see how the battery capacity wanes over time and miles in these cars.
And
Scott, I'll send you a link and you could share it with the group.
Yeah, and do me a favor, send that, we talked the other day, send me the link that that enables, because you all probably don't know, but when you want to search the used or like new Tesla inventory at Tesla, you can't, it's kind of like Craigslist. You can't search the whole country through their system. So there's a workaround for that, Seneca. If you could send that as well, that'd be really helpful.
Yeah, I'll do that too.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks so much. And if you need, you're welcome to stay, but if you got to go, we totally get it.
I've got some customers here. I got to jump.
Thanks so much.
All right, guys. See you later.
Thank you, Seneca.
All right.
Yep, you bet. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So a couple interesting things have happened recently. So yesterday, does anybody not know Doug DeMuro? Have you heard of Doug DeMuro? No. All right. So Doug DeMuro is the #1 automotive car reviewer on YouTube. The guy makes millions every month just by doing a YouTube chit chat about a particular car. So he's built up, hang on a second, 3.57 million followers. So he'll go to like Bill Nuccio's store and say, hey, Bill, can I borrow your Lotus? And I'm going to do a spiel on it. And he'll do Tuesdays and Thursdays every week, he'll do a spiel on the car. So he's built up this huge following of people. And he's very authentic.
It is an Audi all-road. It is the second worst car.
Yeah, there you go. That was him. Whoever was pulling him up, that's him. Yeah, AJ. So he's launched yesterday a competitor to Bring a Trailer. So we don't know who the technology stack comes from, but I've already created my account and played around with the system and looked at it. But it's a certain multi-million-dollar initiative to chip away at Bring a Trailer. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that. The first 50 cars that go on that site, they're paying the sellers $1,000.
What's the site?
It's called Cars and Bids, the ampersand, Cars and Bids. And it's just very much in keeping with his very simplistic and authentic presentation of what he does with cars. So that's a significant competitor, I believe. You know, with that kind of following, he's got that community. Now, that's the one thing that I always said Bring a Trailer did well. They built the community first and then started the auction business. It's where I consider I failed back in 2010 when we tried to do Iron Planet Motors. We built the system and the auction first, but we didn't have the community. So these two entities they're likely to rub heads pretty good. So now we have Cars and Bids. We have Bring a Trailer, of course. We have Hemmings, which has their online auction, and Motorious. If you've heard of Speed Digital, they offer website services for a lot of independent dealers. They have an auction platform called Motorious Auctions. It's not too crazy yet. And then a couple other interesting announcements. Mecum Auctions announced yesterday, this is a shocker, they are having an auction of 1,000 cars in Kissimmee in August. So Kissimmee has always been January. So they're actually doing Monterey, even though there's no Pebble Beach this year, they're going to have a Monterey auction in August on the 15th, I think, or 16th. And then they'll be at the end of August, they'll be here in Kissimmee with 1,000 cars.
Simulcast only or a live auction?
Live auction. Yeah, live auction. So that's a real confluence of circumstances that we've never seen before, and hard to say how that's going to work out for buyers and sellers. And then I got a call a couple days ago from a representative from Gooding. And Gooding has decided to enter into the online auction space as well. So they are executing their first auction in August 3rd through the 7th. And so Gooding's plan is you consign the car to them for $1,000 fee. You ship the car to Santa Monica. They do the inspection and the photography on site in Santa Monica, do the presentation. They charge the seller 5%, the buyer 10%. So that's an unusual and kind of a shakeup in the physical auction world for them to say, okay, we're going to do this, but you got to ship the cars to us. And
kind of a hybrid.
It's a hybrid. That's exactly right. And then one more thing about Doug DeMuro's Cars and Bids. I think it's a little odd, but it's 4.5% commission instead of 5. So he just undercut Bring a Trailer by 0.5%. And so I thought that was kind of like, guys, I feel like it's the gas wars, and the 4 gas stations on the corner and they're all fighting each other by pennies or dimes or whatever.
I can't seem to find it online, Scott. Cars and sign and
ampersand, yeah. Cars and Bids.
If you just type in Cars and Bids, it's there.
Is it spelled out, AJ? And?
Yeah.
Okay. Cars and Bids. And he's got a real funky video that introduces the whole platform. It probably is better to watch one of his videos first and then watch the video for the auction platform so you understand. Because his big shtick is this. He goes, this is a 2009 Bentley Brooklyn. So every video starts with THIS. This, and so in his auction presentation, he kind of goes overboard with the word this. So that's like his shtick. He's a bit of a character, and I got to give him credit. He's the guy on the top of the heap that everybody's trying to be. That if you're trying to be a YouTuber, he's the guy that everybody's aiming for. He's done an amazing job. So a lot of things happening in that collector car space, and I know there are at least 2, if not 3 more multi-million-dollar initiatives also. So the interesting part about that is how are all those spaces and places going to relate to one another? And I made a comment you might see on the screen that we've got one of our next guest speakers on the call today, Harley Cluxton IV. Harley and his partner Hardy started Hammer Price. And so raise your hand if you've never heard of Hammer Price. One guy. So everybody's heard, okay, I got to educate Gavin. So Hammer Price was invented 5 years ago by Harley and Hardy, and it's basically an app so that you can see real-time cars that are selling at physical auctions, because you go to Monterey, you go to Amelia, and you got auctions going at the same time. You can't keep track. So we invented this app to do that. In our discussions lately, we've been talking about how challenging it is to keep track of all these different platforms that are evolving. The physical auctions going to hybrids, the exponential growth of virtual auctions and how they're managing the process. So there's more coming. How are we going to try to keep track of all that? And I think the key for us as dealers, there's going to be some arbitrage opportunities in these platforms. There probably isn't going to be some great attendance records set on the new initiatives. So there's probably a good reason to pay attention to some of these newer sites to see if there's opportunities to acquire some inventory there where they don't have quite the attendance yet. So it is going to be interesting to follow and look toward. We'll have Harley on to talk about Hammer Price and some of the things that they're working on, how they're going to integrate into this new space as well. And then I also have, I think next week, we're going to have Bob Sellers, the president of Reliable Transportation. And we're going to talk about some aspects of what they do and how we might be able to forge a working relationship that could be more beneficial for us and our clients. They are the 800-pound gorilla in the space. They have more trucks on the road than anybody. And I've been working very closely with Bob for, I guess 8 or 9 years now. And so I think we're getting close to an opportunity where we could provide members of the list a little bit better access and some pricing for the volume that we could bring to them. And with all the Eastern Bloc companies that are functioning in that space and the risk that goes with using those I question whether the disparity between the price structures of using, hey, I can get this guy for $1,500 instead of $1,800. I'm not so sure that that actually carries so well with the risk that you take on. So we're going to digress into that and discuss it on one of the next week's calls. And again, if you have anybody else that you'd like to see as a guest speaker, please jump in there. I do want to have Andy Ackerman, who's not on the call today. I do want to have him as a member. He's one of our members, to have him as a guest speaker to talk about collector car financing. I do think he's got a good product. He's been at it 3 or 4 years now, and he's definitely put some deals together for some of our members, and you probably all don't know about it. I know, Bill, you tried to do a deal with him once, but we'll be getting back to that. In the meantime, anything else anybody like to share? Anything? Anybody need anything in particular, or what can we do? Oh, hang on, Bill. I can't hear you. Let's see. Can you unmute? Okay, go ahead, Bill.
I need a Panamera late model 1819 in a light color, a ladies color, like yesterday.
Okay.
Don't seem to see many of those out there. I do have it on the list today.
Okay, good. Anything else? We had Beatty was working a 89 328 GTS Ferrari. If that's a 16,000 mile car, if that's something anybody could use or be interested in, you can give me a call afterwards, and we'll touch base. Other than that, we're just about at our 2 o'clock window. Appreciate the attendance, everybody.
Scott, I got one question because I got on 5 minutes late. Where was Seneca located? I heard him say Jacobs.
Yeah, he's in your backyard. Yeah, he's in your backyard.
Wow. Yeah, seemed like a very intelligent man.
Yeah, I think he's a good guy to have in your back corner, Bill, especially as close as you are. You guys could definitely do some business together.
Yeah. Well, maybe you could send me his info because I really caught it a little late, and I didn't want to bother him with a question like that, but I'll reach out to him.
No worries. Excellent. Will do.
Yeah.
All right. Signing off, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Good seeing you guys.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you.